evolutionary process going on. But mankind won't be destroyed. The fact that you and I are working here today is evidence of that.
Hey, how we doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of DCF Live, Friday, March 31st. Can't believe we are now 25% done with the year already. Time is a-flying, but hopefully everybody's doing good. It was a beautiful day here in Chicago weather-wise. It was in the upper 50s, I believe, so that spring weather is finally coming around. So let's say hello to some people here in the chat. Royalty, Greg, Dylan, how you doing? My dad's in here. Say hi to Delilah. Her and her papa are watching. Hello, baby Delilah. Hanging out with her grandpa as always while I get to do this live. Very cool. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. So a few things going on. We recently launched the DCF Experience again. This is going to be our fourth rendition of the course. And it is going to be coming up here in May 19th through the 21st. So we're just over, I think it's 6 or 7 weeks away, and this is going to be our fourth one already. I'm super excited. We are already almost full. 1 week later, we're already almost booked. We only have 3 spots available. If you are interested in coming, there will be a link in the description where you could check everything out. You can still sign up. There is a course overview that you can check out because I know... after doing 3 of these, it seems that probably at least 80% of people that attend are out of towners. So obviously there's travel and stuff involved. So we have just made a nice little guide for anybody traveling into Chicago with some information on the airports. There's 2 main airports in Chicago, a little bit of stuff on some of the surrounding hotels and whatnot for lodging. There's things you can do in Chicago that we've included on there. I mean, it's unlimited what you can do, literally. But for most of the people that attend, for the most part, we are just so locked into the space throughout the entire weekend. I mean, we're there 8 hours a day, and it's pretty, by the end of that, you're pretty exhausted for how much fun we're having. So anyways, if you're interested, go ahead and check that out at the link in the description. I mean, it truly is... I think that it comes out when you guys hear me talk about it, but it is such a joy of mine to do that and such a passion project, basically, to be able to host that and to see all these people come from quite literally around the world to come and spend a weekend with me and paint custom shoes. This silly little idea I had while I was training to be an architect 12 years ago now is pretty crazy. And we really want it to be a first-class event, you know what I mean? So we make sure you don't need to bring a single thing. We provide everything: paints, brushes, airbrushes, compressors, stencils, all yours to take home. And, we really wanted that because I know a lot of people... We've had a bunch of people who've never painted a pair of shoes before come to the event. And so imagine the starter kit that you get when you've never painted a shoe before and your first time is doing it at the DCF Experience. That is pretty cool stuff. So anyways, other than that, next week is going to be an insanely cool video. It's going to be an upcoming episode of recreating your designs. Now, this is a funny little idea Jason and I had in early 2020 when we hit the 100,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. We wanted to open up like a challenge where you guys could come up with the design, and then we would pick our favorite one, and I would try to bring it to life. And I knew that would be cool because trying to paint somebody else's style, I knew would present challenges, and I think that a hallmark that I try to have of myself is that I don't necessarily have a signature style. Maybe I have a somewhat of a recognizable style that you could see across a lot of pairs, but I want to be flexible that I could sort of handle anything that comes my way. So a challenge like this really excited me, the premise of it. And we had a really cool design that won the first time around. It was a pair from formerly OCD Custom, but now she goes by Overly Chromatic. And she had this Madagascar Sunset Moth Jordan 1, and it was this absolutely beautiful moth that was so colorful. And the way she ended up doing this design was just amazing. Instantly caught my eye, and I knew right away as soon as I saw it that that was the winner. And so we made that video. We ended up making a pair for her as well. And that was a really fun challenge. And I said, hey, this is going to be something that we do every time we hit an additional 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we hit 200,000 last year. Last year ended up being super hectic. I just didn't have the time to get around to actually creating these two pairs because they're both very intricate and took an incredibly long time. And we had two just amazing winners. One of them's here in the chat. Super cool. How you doing, Jay? Bearded Bro Customs. I'm going to pull those up here shortly. Let's see. Where did I have that? I think I had that here as screen. Let me switch over. Okay, so this was the winner of the 200K design contest from Bearded Bro Customs. I thought this was so cool, man. Being a 90s kid myself, I just instantly feel transported into like a Taco Bell dining room, or watching Saved by the Bell, or seeing like the Angel Grove, the Shake Bar in Power Rangers. You know what I mean? I instantly get those vibes. And so I love these. I've done a lot of Bel Air shoes in the past, and this sort of reminds me of that a little bit. So since you guys are hanging out with us here in the chat, I am also going to give you guys a little sneak preview of the shoes before next week's video. So I have them nearby. Hopefully the light that I have nearby doesn't blow them out too much, but take a look at these. Don't want them to be too blown out. So if I go past the light, there you go. So these were designed by Bearded Bro Customs, and I just brought them to life. And this was really, really cool. I mean, as you could tell, there is an insane amount of these funky little shapes, the triangles and circles and all that stuff. And these took me, I think these took me between 75 and 80 hours. And so the only thing that I did on these that Jade didn't include is a little bit of, see, if I hold it too close to me, guys, this big light here blows it out. But I included a little bit of elephant print on the eye stay panels. So that's something that I've done on a bunch of Jordans in the past. Trying to get it to focus. You can kind of see the elephant print there, right behind that, the 90s were here text. And it's very subtle. It's very subtle. But to me, I just wanted to add a little bit something more to that panel rather than leaving that as just like that solid blue. So an absolutely killer design by Jay. I'm really, really excited for you guys to check out this video because this was quite a fun process. And I think that that's what I tried to me, like the premise of recreating your design is so cool because I have to think through I have to reverse engineer them essentially. Like I see the finished product and then I can have a blank canvas in front of me. And now I have to say, okay, how am I going to get there? Like literally, what is the first step? So I'm curious, everybody here in the chat, let me know, like, take a look at the design. Let me know, like, pretend you had an all-white shoe in front of you. Tell me the first two things that you would do, the very first two parts that you would paint if you were to attempt this design. I'm very curious because I think we're going to get a wide array of answers, and then I'll tell you what I did. But yeah. Let me see. Pull our chat up over here. Silver Surfer says, can't wait for my stencils. You just mailed them out today. Sweet. Those should be with you early next week then. Do I not have the... let me get the comments up there. Give me a sec. There we go. Okay, we got some answers starting to roll in. We got some answers rolling in. So far, nobody has said what I did first. And I'm not saying that my way is the right way necessarily on a design like this. I don't think there's a perfect place to start. That's why I was curious what you guys would start with. Like right away, you see there's some panels that are completely solid. I mean, that top collar, the toe box, the eyelet panel, that's kind of like that very light orange color, your pink swoosh. So some people like to start with the simple stuff just to sort of get the ball rolling. Other times there's certainly an argument to be made of, let me start with the more intricate stuff, the stuff that's going to require way more effort and detail, and then I could just save some of the easy stuff for last. There's an argument to be made for both. Absolutely. Freeze OP says, greetings from Spain. Very cool. Wow, all the way from Spain. What time is it in Spain currently? Spain probably 8 hours or so ahead. It's got to be late over there, right? Thanks for tuning in. Bearder Bro says, I'm still using all my paints I got when I went to DCF. Very cool. That is awesome to hear. Royalty says, I'm going to make it there one day all the way from Australia. We'd love to have you, man. That would be super dope to meet you. Greg says, you're an amazing teacher. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate those kind words. Appreciate that. Just catching up here in the chat. Drip with Kicks. Hey, Dylan, how you doing? How you doing? Nick from Fresh Coast Kicks says, it is 100% first-class event. Thank you, man. Thank you. Patrick Willis, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you again. Okay, let's check in on some of these answers here. Bearder Bro says, first thing I do is hire Dylan because that's too much stencil work for me. You must have, I wonder if that's what you were thinking when designing them. Like, man, oh man, that is a, whoever has to create these, that's going to be a tough task. And what's funny is that's one of those things that happens over time with yourself as a designer. Naturally, you sort of start to understand your limitations and what you're willing to do, and you just naturally know what's more difficult, what's easier for you, what's going to cause you more headaches. Are you somebody who enjoys dealing with a lot of stencils, or, you know, do you prefer simple color blocking? You know what I mean? And thankfully, some of those restrictions are off when you're designing it, when you don't have to necessarily paint it. You know what I mean? So I know that that's a really cool aspect to this whole concept. Clevin, hopefully I said that right. Clevin says, have you ever done shoes with elastic straps that goes all the way at the front? Is it troublesome? I would have to know which, maybe you have a shoe model that you're referring to, where I could sort of think of it a little bit better, what you mean specifically. But as of right now, I would have to say I'm not too sure. Not too sure. Marcia says, going to have to go to another class soon. We'd love to have you back. It's so cool to hear a lot of people, you know, want to come back for another class. And something, you know, we're considering doing once we've done enough is having like a level 2 course. But then, you know, just some of the framework that we've been working through is, do you have to have attended the first course to attend the level 2, or is it open to anybody, but we're just not going to spend as much time doing some of the basics and whatnot. So just some of the stuff we're working through there. A lot of people are saying they'd start with the purple. Base coat for purple, toe box, start on the heel, toe box, pink swoosh, the lines background, triangles on the front. So Brooklyn Jackson actually has what I started with. I started with the sock liner on these. That is what I did. Start with the sock liner, get it out of the way, then you can, you know, tape it off and have it done. To me, that makes sense a lot of times when I'm doing a colored sock liner. Now, at the very same time, I say that a recent video, in case anybody caught it, I did a Dragon Ball a Goku pair of Jordan 3s. Oh, the one that's on the thumbnail for today's video. If you watch the episode of Customize and Chill, the sock liner is like the last thing I do. I was sort of early on in designing those considering not painting the sock liner, but ultimately I still felt like I needed a little bit more of that sort of really vibrant royal blue. So I knew I could incorporate that in the sock liner. Saved it for last. But a lot of times on Jordan 1s, when the whole upper is going to be colored and stuff, I like to knock out the sock liner. So, and then after that, you'll see in the video, I don't want to give too much away, of course, but I went on to the black and white. So the grid pattern, the grid panel, which is the quarter panel, trying to figure out how I was going to do that grid pattern. Was I going to try to hand paint those lines? Was I going to try a stencil? And then the little squiggly lines that are on the mudguard there, that panel that wraps around the toe box. And they look incredibly tiny. And at first I was really worried. I scaled it up a little bit versus the mock-up. Quite minimally, I believe. Just so that I could get a stencil made of the squiggly lines there. So you can kind of tell a little bit bigger. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that I would have, been able to make a stencil of that. So you guys want to see a sneak peek of the other one? Because we had 2 winners this time around. So what we did with that design contest is I wanted to pick my personal favorite that I think we ended up having like 300 entries that I was the most excited to paint. And then I opened up, like, since we did it last March, like a bracket where I think I then picked my next favorite 8 or what I thought would be like the top 8. And then we did a little vote off over on Instagram. And so there's one more nearby. If you guys want to check those out, let me know. I'll show them to you. It's a Naruto pair. So, Silver Surfer says I'd do the white areas first, then tape them off. Yep. Sarah says I'm from Iran and it's also late. Wow, checking in from Iran. Very cool. FTOJ says I'd say a base coat of whatever color is on the toe box and collar. Not sure what color because I am colorblind. Wow. So do you do, I know there's another, who is it? JSM 801 Customs. He's colorblind as well. So I know that presents, a lot of different challenges for you. So very cool to hear that you're still able to do stuff and, work through that. Dylan Jacobson says, have you used any blacklight paints? I have not. I have not used blacklight paints. I haven't used, well, you know what? I didn't know this. This is crazy, but actually on this pair right here, I actually, let me switch back over here. I didn't know this, but all these colors are neons, the neon yellow, the neon pink. These are actually blacklight activated or glow in the dark. I'm not sure which one actually, because I actually had a friend of mine who's also a fellow customizer here in Chicago shoot some photos of those. So the photos that I have of those dropping next week are really dope. He sent me a picture of these and he said, man, you didn't even tell me. And I said, didn't tell you what? And I opened the picture in an Instagram DM and it's them glowing. And I'm not sure if it was glow in the dark or blacklight, but I said, oh, damn, man. Like I didn't even know that that happened. So the Angelus neon paints are, I'm not sure if anybody else does know. They're either blacklight activated or they are glow in the dark. One of them, which is pretty cool. I watch ads here says, yo, DeJesus, I've been a long-time follower. I know you're a busy guy, but I have a very true and personal outlook on a custom pair of shoes for me. Can I reach out? Possibly. I don't have many socials. Yeah, absolutely. Shoot me an email. My email is contact@dejesusinc.com. It should be linked in the description of the video as well. But yeah, hit me up on there. Freeze OP here says, I just got the forecoat and I feel it is really thick. Is it safe to use with the airbrush or do I need to thin it? Great question. So a lot of people, I believe, run into this with the forecoat. It is a little bit thicker than past finishers. That's because it's, you know, a different formula. It's urethane based. And same thing with the liquid kicks top coats. They are airbrush. They are meant to be used with an airbrush. You should not need to use any thinner if you have a 0.05 or larger nozzle. Now, some airbrushes might have a 0.03. That's another standard size. So just sort of check your manual if you aren't sure. If you do use the airbrush that I recommend, which is the Badger Patriot, that one has a 0.05. And I never have any issues. I only use one airbrush. I put the same paint. I put the same finisher in the same airbrush that I do the paint, is what I meant to say. And don't have any issues. But make sure you shake it beforehand very, very well. Because you'll notice it starts to separate in the bottle if it's been sitting for a little. Kevin says, good evening from Lakeland, Florida. How you doing, Kevin? What's up, Dante? How you doing, man? Okay, let me pull up screen over here so I can show you the other mock-up of the other pair. Here's the other pair. These are from Bart Custom. This is the character Gaara from Naruto. And I thought these were really cool. Right away, I thought these looked like something that Sean would do. Color Me Fresh. This looks like, you know, I know that he's actually done Gaara, this character, on a pair of Jordan 1s before. And just sort of the way that everything's split up and whatnot, it reminded me a lot of Sean. So I also thought that would be kind of cool to take on something in a way that Sean sort of does. So anyways, here is that pair. Let's see. Here is those. So I was actually able to get one of this space shoe was the Couture Jordan 1s. And so they already came with the aged sole rather than the white midsole. So I was super excited about that. Both of these, rather than just going with all white Jordan 1 mids, I was actually able to find some Jordan 1 highs for pretty good prices, below retail on them, I believe. So there's those. These were really fun to do as well. I've done quite a few. I've done a couple anime pairs in the past year. And that's not necessarily my forte, but it's still fun to do. Still fun to do. So yeah, there's those. Those will also be in the video next week showing how I made those. Really excited with how those turned out as well. I thought this was a really cool pair. The one thing that I had to do different is the swoosh on the mock-up here. It almost is expanded past the swoosh, and that's like something Sean does a lot, where he'll like remove the swoosh and then cut out new leather and do it in that shape to make it look like the attack. And I said, man, I'm just getting too close to making it look like I'm doing a Sean impersonation here. So I gotta switch it up. I gotta keep things, you know, constrained to just the swoosh. So decided to simplify it a bit. So yeah, you can kind of see that there. But I still wanted it to look like an attack coming from his hand, you know? So sorry, if I bring it here, my light blows it out, And then when I bring it too close to the camera, it's a little dark, unfortunately. But yeah, this was another cool pair to tackle. So excited for you guys to see those next week. The aged midsole really makes a difference on those. Agree. Yeah, so this was this pair was the Couture Jordan ones. So these have like it's that pair of Jordan ones, if you're not familiar, that has like a big red stripe on the side and an all black leather upper with that red stripe. And I think I got them on StockX for like between 140 and 160. I'm not sure what retail was on them, but not much higher than what, just an all white Jordan 1 mid is anyways. And then these were, I believe their nickname is like these are called the Stealth Jordan 1s. So these are, they had some gray panels. I think the toe box was gray, and I think these purple panels were gray as well. And I think I got those for a similar price point, like 140 to 160. And what's nice about those is there is a ginormous difference in the leather on these Jordan 1 highs versus your standard like tumble leather on the Jordan 1 mids. These definitely there's a sizable jump in leather quality. So that's really nice. The nicer leather that you're working on as well, the less you have to worry about anything ever happening with your stencils. Like vinyl just lays so cleanly on higher quality leather. And not that these are the world's greatest, but I've done a couple pairs of some Gucci shoes before, some Alexander McQueen's, and when you're working on really nice leather like those, boy oh boy, are they a joy to work with. Sarah says, how much time we should work to achieve to this course? So I'm not sure if you mean how long would it take to do something like this potentially. I mean, it depends sort of what your artistry background is before you get into customizing shoes. Have you grown up doing, a lot of drawing, painting, artistry, or is this like a completely new hobby / craft where you don't necessarily already have a lot of those motor patterns ingrained in rhythm with your hands and stuff? Those things go a long way in sort of how you can get how you can have like a head start at being a good artist on shoes right away. You know what I mean? I don't think I had a ton of that. I certainly wouldn't have been able to do, cartoon characters or anime characters or detailed logos when I was first starting out. I've been doing this for 12 years now. So certainly took me a while, but had to make a lot of mistakes along the way. Yo, Dillon, you said you wear a size 8, right? If I remember, I wear an 8.5. 8.5. When's the next design contest? I don't know. I don't have anything set as of now. But I would like to do another one this year. I would like those to be a yearly thing. And the last one was the Heritage Contest. I think that was in October of like 21. So it's been over a year. So we will do another one soon. Jay says, how important would you say a background is for YouTube videos? Like what's behind you in the video, etc. I think a good way to think about it, Jay, is there's a threshold of, can you get past it being distracting to the point that you didn't put in any effort? And what I mean by that is sometimes you might see people film in, let's just say, a messy bedroom or something like that, or up against like a dresser, and your setting doesn't have anything that matches what's going on in the video or anything like that. So my set for a long time was, I saw you post the other day on Instagram, your set was going to be your paint bottles behind you. And that's what I did for a long time. Probably our first almost 100 videos on YouTube. I'm just standing up against 2 bookshelves that were painted black, and where I just had um, all of my Angelus paints behind me. And at the time, Jason and I, when we were filming, we were working in the spare bedroom at my parents' house when we left our downtown studio, before I built this studio. And that we were working in a relatively confined space for two people and for filming. So we thought that that would be one spot that I could always stand up against. So how important is it? I think that if the more stuff that you can put in the background that matches, if you're doing shoe videos, if you can somehow have a shoe nearby, if you can have some of your display shoes or something like that. Obviously the paints, that's going to be really colorful, so that's cool. What other little things maybe that are about Jay can you put nearby? So, for example, in that set where I was filming up against those bookcases, I also had a bunch of Power Ranger Funko Pops on display. One, because they were colorful, it matched the sort of colorfulness vibe of all the paints. But also, me being a big Power Ranger fan, that was, hey, one little thing that lets you know what this guy is about per se. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I think that as long as it looks like you've put in some effort, some thought, that will go a long way. And you don't want it to be too boring either, where you're just filming up against, sort of a completely blank wall. You know what I mean? But if you can light that correctly, sometimes just a solid wall works as well. I do a solid wall for reviewing your customs. But truth be told, we stole that concept from Unbox Therapy. He's a huge YouTuber, and although he's switched up the format somewhat over the years, he pretty much always just films up against a light gray wall and unboxes cool products. So, sometimes if you're up against just a completely solid color wall, that can still look good if you light it correctly. So, yeah, hopefully that helps, Jay. Good luck, buddy. Hopefully that helps. Look forward to seeing some of your videos, man. We need more people doing custom shoe videos on YouTube. We need to grow that culture here on YouTube. I want to see more. Will Angelus 4-coat finisher stop UV color changing paints from working? They shouldn't, because they're just a clear coat on top, so it's not, preventing any of the pigmentation from coming through or anything like that. Silver Surfer, where's the line work stencil coming out? So that, I can tell you the date on that. It's going to be the video after this one. Let me check my dates here. So this video, Recreating Your Design, comes out April 5th, next week. That means that this video, how to create a line work stencil, which is what I used in this video, so that you can do, cool character stuff like this, that's going to be April 19th. April 19th. So 2 weeks from next Wednesday. But wait, it's actually a 2-Minute Tuesday video. So it'll be April 18th, actually. It's a 2-Minute Tuesday. It's a 2-Minute Tuesday. I forgot. Almost forgot. Almost forgot there. RJ Clark here says, I'm a beginner at customizing. I'm trying to customize some black suede Nike Air Burrows. Can I use the Angelus leather paint? RJ, just a forewarning, black suede is a really, really tough material to work with. Since you mentioned that you're a beginner, I'm not sure if it's your first pair or maybe you've done some other pairs, but black suede is a very, very tough material to work with, especially or really depending upon the color you're trying to do. Let's just say, for example, you were trying to paint, I don't know, maybe a Lakers colorway, purple and yellow, on top of black suede. It would be an absolute nightmare. And truthfully, you would probably end up creating a product that wouldn't be wearable because it would take so many coats of paint for any color to show up on black suede. That's the hardest part about black suede, is getting color to show up on there. So it really, really just depends on what design you're trying to do. There's some designs where maybe you're not trying to do the most colorful thing, where it might be possible. But But yes, can you use the Angelus leather paint? If you do, you would want to use the Angelus paint along with their product called Too Soft, which is a fabric medium, which helps the paint work a little bit better on different fabrics and suedes, so that you can somewhat retain some of that factory softness. Royalty says, I film with my sneaker rack behind me. I don't know if it's effective. Let me think. Your background can develop over time. Don't let your background stop you from filming videos. You know what I mean? Don't let your background be one of those things that stops you. You know what I mean? Don't let that hold you up from making videos, because when it comes to doing YouTube videos for a long time, your videos aren't going to get any views. They're going to stink. You're not going to be a good video editor. You're not going to be good at titling videos. You're not going to be good at thumbnail designing. And you just have to do it a bunch until you can get good. Like if anybody watches a lot of YouTube, there's been a lot of videos or interviews with Mr. Beast saying, like, you have to make 100 bad videos first until you can, your 101st might finally be your first good one. And that's when things might click for you. That might be the first time you actually make like a nice pacing or something like that, in terms of, the video taking. Can you hold a viewer's attention for 8 minutes? Doesn't sound like a lot of time, 8 minutes. Well, a TV show's 30 minutes or a movie's 90 minutes. I should be able to keep somebody for 8 minutes on YouTube, but you'd be surprised. It's hard to do. So you just have to make videos and let your background and things like that just develop over time. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, but leave a kiss, hopefully. What's up? How many TikToks shorts do you think you can create from a full process of a custom pair? There are some people who are so good at doing lots of clips from a full customizing process. This is a really, really, really good question. This is something I think about often. This is something I've thought about a lot in the past of wanting to make a YouTube video about. I've probably said it here before on a live, but I've thought like a title for a video, something that just sounds cool, is, let's say the number is either 50 or 100, but like, here's how I make 100 pieces of content around every sneaker project. 100 might be a little high, but let's just say you did one YouTube video, 5 Instagram posts, 5 TikToks, 5 YouTube shorts, 5 Instagram reels. Now, what's nice about those is those can all be the same format. They're just vertical 9x16 videos. One newsletter. You'd have to really ramp up the Instagram stories, maybe like 15 Instagram stories of a full project. And I don't know, I'm just shooting for a really high number because it would sound better for the title, truthfully. But how I make 50 pieces of content around every project. And I think that you have to develop something that's sustainable for you to repeat. Can you do this again on future projects? So for example, can you come up with, let's just start low and build more over time. So can you have maybe 3 quick reels that you could do for every single video or for every single project that you're working on? So for example, if I were to just give 3 reels that literally anybody could do with an iPhone, you could do, let's say one of them is you showing the finished product. It's a video, you're showing it off. And this is something I've done a few times. It's a video of you showing it off, and then all of a sudden it just burst into a bunch of quick photos, maybe showing some of the details. That's a quick reel that literally anybody could do with any type of custom shoe. Another one that I haven't done enough of in the past, but could be like an ASMR unboxing, especially if you have cool packaging. So I did this on a pair of Scooby-Doo cleats. I actually haven't repeated it since, but let's just say you bring, let me switch over. You know, you bring a shoebox into frame, you set up maybe a little microphone somewhere, and then you hear, I don't have any paper in there right now, but you hear the crinkling of the wrapping paper, you see the name on the side and things like that, and you show off all the details. That's something that literally anybody could do with any project. And maybe you do like a quick before and after with some type of transition. So you show maybe the all white shoe to start, and then you do some type of quick transition, even if it's block the entire camera so it's a black screen, and then come out again where it's, you know, the finished design. That's something anybody could do. And there's so many more. There's so many more, whether it's, you know, voiceovers that are talking about the different steps. You could do, there's a lot of different voiceover projects that you could do, but you could talk about some of the different challenges. You know, what was like, here's the hardest part about making this pair of Jordan 1s or something like that. So I could do some type of reel and I'll say, here's, this project almost killed me because I almost peeled up something with vinyl stencils or whatever. You know what I mean? You could just talk about different challenges. People love hearing about, you know, hurdles and whatnot. So how you doing, Sammy Joe? I hear you saying I'm working on an ebook workbook on that topic right now. Very cool. I think that would be very useful for the community. I look forward to reading that, Sammy. That is a really, really cool concept and something that I know a lot of people, myself included, can benefit from. Most of my videos are shorter, about 4 minutes. Should I be making them longer? I think you should test different lengths. Don't make it longer just to make it longer. Make it as long as it needs to be, or make it as short as it needs to be. Because if you only have 4 minutes of content, but you somehow try to stretch it into 8 minutes, you might lose people even more. You know what I mean? Because it's just very, very easy for people to get bored on YouTube. So that's something you're trying to do, is never let them get bored. And I would love to hear some of your guys' feedback. That's something that I think I've really tried to do in the past, maybe, and I would probably say the last 10 videos or so on YouTube that we've posted. I have really tried to, I feel the format is slightly different in that I've tried to, okay, so it's actually not like 10 videos, but maybe the last, it really started with the how to prep a cleat in under an hour video, which was 5 months ago, which is a 9-minute video. But I truly feel I've tried to just up the pacing so that, to me, when I watch through and when I have other people watch through, I try to not let there be any points where you get bored. You know what I mean? I try to just keep it jammed packed with information. So Sammy says, thanks. I'm excited. It's my first go at this type of teaching. Yeah, that's awesome. When we did our photography guide, that was tricky. That was tough because I am not a writer at all. English was my least favorite class forever in school. I just never enjoyed the process of writing. So trying to do a photography guide, which I knew worked best in writing form, something that people could pull out at different points, have a physical copy of. It was tough to do. It was tough to do. So yeah. Dylan, you're size 8, right? 8.5. 8.5. I answered you, bud. You probably had to hop out earlier, but I'm an 8.5, my man. Blue Donut says 4 minutes or shorter sounds perfect, especially with today's attention span. Yeah, so the semi issue of shorter videos, one hurdle is actually, you know, I have too many counterpoints already in my head to say that. What I was gonna say is, if you make shorter videos, it might take you longer to get monetized on YouTube, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So if your videos are shorter, it would take longer versus if you had, 8 or 12-minute videos. But right away, there's too many counterpoints to that that I could say. Truthfully, if you just make good videos, they're going to get views, and you'll quickly be able to, not quickly, because it doesn't happen overnight, but you'll be able to reach that threshold so that you can be monetized on YouTube. I can't say that there's a true benefit to doing them longer just because, you know what I mean? You just got to test different lengths. Truthfully, you just got to test different ones. I'm probably in the minority, but I like watching long videos, but I feel when I make my own, I don't want the time lapse to be forever. So there's a few things that I would say, critiques of mine that I've learned over time is there's something very popular on YouTube that you might hear called like the 8-second rule, that somehow you need somewhat of a change on screen or just something to change every 8 seconds or so. So let's just say you are doing a time lapse, and let's just say you planned on let's just say it's like an hour straight of you painting something, and you wanted to speed it up to be on the screen for a minute. You need to somewhat add a cut, a jump, a zoom in, something, text on screen, switch to a different angle every 8 seconds or so. If you just let that consecutively run for a minute straight, people are quickly going to just pull out their phone or something else. So that's something to consider. That's really just programming for attention spans nowadays. But if you think about it, if you actually pay attention, which is something I never ever did until starting to make YouTube videos, if you actually watch a lot of TV shows or movies, take a look count how long it is until there's a cut. Even if it's just a dialogue scene between two people, see how long they are on one person before it cuts to the other person, or it cuts to just a reaction of the other person while the other person's still talking. Whatever the case is. If it's an action movie, if it's a John Wick, my goodness, it'll be every half a second. You know what I mean? But yeah. Just you got to play around with different things when it comes to time lapses so that you're not on screen for too long. Just finding ways to switch things up. Let's see. I was curious if you would go with the same type of clip for every project, or would you try to do something different every time, because it is quite difficult? Thanks for your answer. Great question. I like to try to think of things that are sustainable that I could repeat again in the future. You know what I mean? So some of those ideas I gave, such as an unboxing or that quick, photo montage, that's something you could literally do with every project. And those are very simple ones. Sometimes I'll do reels that take me so long to edit because it's almost like I'm editing a new YouTube video with all the cuts, and with those in mind, you're trying to be even faster paced. Since you got to be lightning quick on Instagram Reels and TikToks. But you also got to test different things, see what works, test voiceovers. You know what I mean? Like I said, do people want to see, with those, with Instagram Reels and stuff, try to envision people watching them who aren't other customizers, who aren't other artists. Try to picture somebody who's not even a sneaker collector watching that video. Can this hold their attention? You know what I mean? Would they get bored by this, or would it naturally, oh, this is kind of cool? You know what I mean? Thankfully for me, I have had the same group of friends since I have been in grade school. None of them could care less about shoes. And so I bounce a lot of ideas off their heads and say, hey, what do you think about this? Does this work? Does this not work? And they could, like I said, they could care less about shoes. So but they're also, 20 somethings or 30 somethings who give me a good general consensus on if something could work for, the general populace or whatnot. So yeah. Sammy Joe agrees. Same. Watching my own time lapse 30 seconds feels like an hour, but I love a 30-minute studio vlog. Yeah, I think we're in like year 5 of doing YouTube. I'm a little sad that I never was able to really find a format to just do a 30-minute vlog. I was never able to make myself interesting enough for that to work, unfortunately. Because a lot of the YouTubers that I loved and still love, I can quite literally watch them do nothing. And I do think a lot of times that's probably a matter of Jason and I never really stuck with that format. We would test it out here and there, longer videos, kind of vlog style videos. Sometimes they would work. Maybe we just never really nailed the title and thumbnail format for them. So it just never really took off for us. So, sometimes you got to follow what works and what doesn't for you. And so if nobody was responding to really enjoying those, maybe they were made too much for, that's where sort of what I was just talking about. Somebody who, like my friends who probably like me, couldn't watch a 30-minute video of me just talking about stuff in my studio. So it was almost too niche in a way for me to just be talking about custom shoes the whole time. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure, a lot of yous probably have a YouTuber who probably has a niche, but, you could, like I said, watch them do anything. I mean, one of my favorites is Max Tuning. He's a guy who got started as a fitness YouTuber and still does that, but now he has a sour candy company that does really well. He started like a podcast as well that's on a separate YouTube page, but I watch all of those too. And like I said, he's a guy who I could watch do absolutely nothing. And even though he does fitness content, like I still enjoy watching all of his stuff. So yeah. Ninad here says, Salud, can you break down what type of video is best by your opinion for what? Like what part of the process is good for reels, what's good for shorts, etc. Maybe you can make a video on that. That is a good video topic. I love doing these lives because you guys give me good ideas like this, like hearing from the people, boots on the ground of what's needed and what's there's a desire for. So help me work through this one, guys. What is, in response to Ninad's question here, what is like the video, what is the topic that you would want covered on this? Like, what are the best, this title doesn't work, but what are the best Reels videos for sneaker customizers? That doesn't work as a title for a YouTube video, but like what are video projects that customizers can do? Because like now video content is so big. I'm so glad that thankfully I got a little bit of a start in doing YouTube videos before like Instagram Reels and TikTok really took off, that I knew a little bit about video editing and stuff like that I know I would feel, damn, I don't even know where to begin if I was somebody who was pretty much always just posting my work as photos on Instagram, to now be forced to do video content. That's tough. Thankfully, I didn't feel forced to have to start video content because in a way I was already doing that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Just general broad strokes. What makes for a good, concise video to make? What videos should customizers be making or something like that? Let me know. Because a couple, we'll just go off of my own. Let's see. See if I can get this to pull up. Okay, so some of my better performing reels were, let's see, what's this one? This one was on making the Tiffany paint more Tiffany, which, funny enough, Tyler from Angelus, the CEO of Angelus, reached out to me and said that they just changed the formula, so you don't have to do this, which is glorious. That now it's a little bit closer to this, which is so funny. So if you do order Angelus Gift Box Blue paint in the near future, it's a slightly different color. This one, what's that one? That one's just using a stencil. This one did good. What was this? Okay, so this one I would call like, this one's a little bit more of a longer format making of. So a lot of times I do text on the screen right away. A lot of times people are watching these with no sound. So if you can get some text on the screen, that grabs their attention right away. And this one, I think, without watching it right now, I think I show 1 second clips of maybe 20 different steps. Let's see. That's about a second, maybe 2 seconds. Little progress update. So yeah, this is one where I film my entire process of making these, and I just show maybe like 20 clips that are about 1.5 to 2 seconds of the start to finish process on these. You know what I mean? And then I probably show a picture or two at the end. It's coming up here. Yeah. I think I've only had one come close to 100K on Instagram. And it was something very similar to that with a pair of Chargers Jordan 1s. So that format, excuse me, probably works well for me. See this one right here, 98.3K. It actually wasn't on a Chargers pair, it was on this Rockets one. So it's of this multi-layer stencil. I think this one has a voiceover. So this one I'm just showing this multi-layer stencil process. And then this Chargers one has 89. But again, another making of, and then I'm just showing 1 to 2 second clips of the process. And funny enough, if you compare this video to the Ravens one, they're nearly the same thing. I remember I opened that project up again and said, I'm just going to copy that format because this one got so many views the first time around. So it starts with me prepping the shoe. It says the making of. I go into Procreate. Then I go into paint mixing. I get probably after this, it's airbrushing. Then it's probably a stencil. And then it's probably untaping. Taping for the sock liner. So yeah, you find what works for you, and then you go from there. You go from there. And then speaking on the video stuff, something that I'll always stand by this. Some creators will say, don't do this. My opinion is model what works in your niche already. So if you're doing custom shoes, see what's working in the custom shoe space, and you can recreate it and still add your own spin. I actually just heard people talking about this on I was just watching a a YouTube panel. I think I like at a Comic-Con, and they were talking about how to start a YouTube page. Now, I cannot confirm or deny this. Dad, if you're watching, let me know this. I know my dad was a big Beatles fan, but they were saying what I'm about to say in terms of it's okay to copy what's working in the space because it's working for a reason, and it's okay to be a cover band when you're just starting out, and then you'll start to find your own style. So what this person was saying that I was getting at is that the Beatles, one of the greatest bands of all time, started off not necessarily as a cover band, but when they started out, they were doing, they were singing other people's songs and whatnot. So, Dad, if you're watching, please let me know if that's true or not. If I just, if that sounds made up and I sound like a fool, I probably disappointed you right now, but hopefully not. Hopefully, what I heard earlier from a stranger on the internet is true, that the Beatles used to be not necessarily a cover band, but they did cover other people's songs when starting out. So I think that you can do that. Model what works in the space. If you can find a customizer who's getting a lot of views, test something similar. I've said this story before because if I didn't follow that advice, there's no way we'd be here today on YouTube. I heard this probably in like 2017 on a podcast that I was listening to, and they said, go and find 5 videos that are working in your space, in your niche, whatever it is, cooking, FIFA, gaming, custom shoes. Find 5 videos that are really working and recreate them, but still, of course, try to add your own style. And one of the first videos that we did that really helped get us traction on YouTube was just doing a Bape Vans tutorial. Now, we had already done, I don't know, somewhere between maybe 3 to 7 videos on YouTube at that point. And then we said, okay, there's a bunch of people who are getting views on these Bape Vans tutorials on YouTube. This would have been early 2018. There was quite a few videos that had a significant amount of views on just doing those Bape Vans. Everybody's seen them. And so we said, okay, let's go ahead and try to make our own tutorial. Some of them, because YouTube was a little bit older, it was just like 7 minutes of time lapse of just overhead with music, and just the entire thing is a time lapse and whatnot. And we said, what if we do a little bit of talking and whatnot too? So we tested that, and that video got us a good amount of views that we were like, oh, okay, let's keep doing this. So another thing we did is we saw Peter McKinnon had done like, and this was borrowing from other niches as well, was doing like 9 camera hacks, something like 8 camera hacks in 90 seconds. And then we said, oh, what if we do like 8 customizer hacks in 90 seconds or something like that? And then we did a video like that got a pretty good amount of views for us. I think it was like 6 customizer hacks in 90 seconds or something like that. This is very early on. These are within our first 10 YouTube videos. And so we just sort of borrowed what's working and tried to put our own spin on it. And so I think that that's something that you can definitely do. You can definitely do. King Stock says, I really enjoy your longer videos when I'm in my cave. Just watch and paint and chill. That's very cool, man. I'm glad you dig the longer format ones. I meant to pull up another comment earlier. He said, just finishing up my 2nd pair of customs as we speak. Thanks in large part to you. What'd you do on them, King? What'd you do on those? Let me know. Let me know what you got going for your 2nd pair. I Kiss Custom says, I finally made it to a live. 2023 is going amazing. Thank you for joining us. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Maybe a level 3 DCF could be all about starting a YouTube channel. Man, I really, really, really am. There's really not a lot of people doing custom shoes on YouTube. There's really not. And it's something that I really do enjoy, just talking about YouTube. I'm just a big fan of YouTube. So it's something I really, really enjoy talking about and enjoy helping people with, trying to do it. So yeah, love that idea, man. Is it easier to start your customizing business using a platform like Etsy, or should you make your own site? I am asking more of a visibility ads perspective. So with Etsy, you could almost call it like a, how would I put this? Etsy is almost like having a store in the mall and that there's just naturally a little bit of foot traffic every day. So if your stuff is titled correctly and you have your SEO optimized, you might just naturally get some more eyes on there. Um, that maybe wouldn't have found you if you just had your own website. Another nice thing about Etsy ads, this is coming from somebody who doesn't do paid ads with Facebook, so they might be a lot better. Um, but with Etsy ads, what's nice about them is you could set a budget every day for ad spend on Etsy, and you only get charged if people click. So, for example, let's just say you did this pair of shoes. You called them a Bel Air Jordan 1. You would only get charged if people clicked on those. What's kind of nice about that is if they are clicking on it, they are already somewhat interested. You're not just getting charged just for them appearing on as an unwanted ad while somebody's scrolling on Instagram or something like that. You know what I mean? Or Facebook. It's not just popping up out of nowhere. Your ad is only going to get clicked if somebody's already searching for something like that. If somebody's already searching for custom Jordans or Bel Air shoes or whatever the case is, you know what I mean? Etsy is pretty strict with copyright and intellectual property, so you can't post like sports team theme stuff, I believe, or probably anime stuff. So you're somewhat limited there. So yes, I do think Etsy, the cost of Etsy is not too high to where I do think it can help you get some eyes on there, which is nice. But having your own website adds a degree of validity to your business. It makes you look that much more legit. So even if you're not selling a ton of volume, I think it's still good to pay to host a website because it makes you look that much more legit for anybody searching out for you. Patrick Willis here says, I'm looking to get into detail work. Right now I'm worried about layering. What the amount of layers I want to shoot for? So many factors to consider here, Patrick. There's not one blanket answer. Just some things coming to mind are it's going to depend on some of the main factors are it's going to depend what color or design are you doing on top of what background. You know what I mean? So if you're doing character work where he has, very light skin and it's up against maybe a dark brown panel, that's going to take a lot more layers than if you were painting, something really dark, almost black, on just like a simple white leather panel. You know what I mean? That's going to take less layers. So there's not one blanket answer. You still just want to do nice thin layers, however many it takes. You know what I mean? Of course, you still want to follow some of those principles that I'm sure you've heard me preach about in the past on how you cut down on total amount of coats needed. If you're working on a dark surface, you could lay down some light gray or some mist as, a nice little base for some of your lighter colors. Something like that will go a long way. But yeah, amount of layers you want to shoot for. Just depends. Just depends what you're doing. Just depends what you're doing. How you doing, Eddie? Good to see you, buddy. But I don't know if maybe you mean like for character work, or you're just talking about like if you're doing the black line work, if you're doing like the outlines of the character or the black lines, you would want to do those, and those would just be one layer. You know what I mean? You would be trying to do those in one layer. It's not, depending on the size of it, it's not necessarily the same as base coating an entire panel, in that you don't have to. I don't want to give the advice that you can go thicker with it because that can go wrong quickly. But it's not the same as, depending on where it is, you know what I mean? But if it's just on like a back heel, you may not need to spend as much time completely incredibly thin layers like you need to if you're doing something like a toe box or any other things. But if it's in a smaller non-crease area, you have slightly less to worry about. Let's see. What do you use when you edit your videos? I use Adobe Premiere Pro. That's on a desktop. Some other ones are, if you're on a Mac, I believe it comes with iMovie is the one that it comes with. I think a paid one that's on a lot of Macs are, because I have an Adobe subscription. I want to say it's $30 a month for all of the Adobe programs, Photoshop, Premiere. I don't know what it costs. It's worth it, no matter what. If you have a business, if you're a content creator nowadays, having the Adobe suite is totally worth it. But you can download Final Cut Pro if you're on a Mac. That's a one-time fee. Some free ones, if you're just doing iPhone stuff, would be Adobe has, I believe it's free. It's called Premiere Rush. I believe that's free. Some other ones, another one is Splice. And yeah. But I use Adobe Premiere Pro. iKiss Custom says, I made my first website today and got my first sale too. Congratulations. That is awesome to hear. I need some sound effects. I need a little soundboard so we could have a little cheering sound right now for iKiss Customs. That's super cool. Congratulations. That's an awesome moment. That's an awesome moment. King here says, did you ever utilize eBay for selling customs? Is it worth it to try pros and cons? Yes, similar to Etsy, you can get just some organic traffic that wouldn't necessarily otherwise find you, but maybe people just scrolling on eBay might stumble across, your listing. If they're searching, it's tough because when I say that you can get the traffic from people just searching, what are the chances that somebody is on eBay typing in Bel Air Jordans? I mean, I guess they had those Bel Air Jordan 5s probably almost 10 years ago. But if you did like original work or something else, depending on what your stuff is titled, how you have it, tagged and whatnot, it might not appear as much in search, but nonetheless, the listing fees are so low that people might just stumble across it somehow, that I do think it is, worth it to try. Worth it to try. Patrick here with a great tip. Search custom shoes and filter the last sold. You can get a good idea of how well they sell and how frequent they sell. Yeah, great tip. Great tip. There you go. Blue Dunnett says, I've sold quite a bit on eBay. Pros, massive audience, added protection, ease of use for customer. Cons, a little tougher for new sellers, lack of feedback, selling fees, deadlines. Yes, so that's another thing with custom shoes. Are you selling pre-made ones versus it would be hard to do one-of-one made to orders because you have to get them sent out so quickly. The selling fees, what does eBay take nowadays? Is it 15%? I think that's what it was years back. Not sure what that is now. But yeah, just if you have a 0-star rating, people are always going to be a little bit more worried about you. So yeah. Jay here says, I'd say for reels, keep it simple, show the finished product and then cuts of how you got there. YouTube videos can be more in depth of the thought process and full processes of how you created them. Yeah, I think a lot of times I've tried to have my reels and stuff as funnels to YouTube videos, and I've almost given up hope that you can use Reels and TikToks to funnel somebody to another app like you used to be able to earlier on these platforms, because people are just going to say, literally, I'm too lazy to go to YouTube. Unless they really want to, they're super excited about it, then they will. So you could have that mindset. Well, if they like it enough, they'll come to me. But everybody's just so short attention span nowadays that it's just sort of on to the next. So it's hard to say, okay, I'm gonna get a bunch of traffic because I'll have a really cool reel, and then they're all gonna come watch the long format YouTube video because they want to see how I made them. I mean, so for example, this pair took me like 80 hours to make. There's a YouTube video going up on how I made them. I might have a 30-second reel, but that might be enough to satisfy their appetite. They don't need to go and see how they were made because they saw enough 1-second clips in my 30-second reel. You know what I mean? But yes, that is very much a good concept for keeping it simple. You know what I mean? Easily digestible with your reels. And then, hey, if you want the full course, not just the appetizer, come over to YouTube. Sammy says you got to make a reel on how to turn the new gift box blue back into the old for those of us who love it. Oh, that's too funny. I do really enjoy that color as well. One of my favorites. But just I had to do that because I was making a Tiffany pair and I wanted to take pictures with the actual Tiffany shoes. Okay, my dad says they played blues. Okay, there we go. Didn't make myself look like a fool with my Beatles commentary. King here says they're a pair of Iverson questions. I'm doing them yellow and military blue. You may remember I asked you on Instagram some advice as well about the patent leather, which you helped me with. Oh, okay. Very cool. I look forward to seeing them, man. Make sure to send me some pictures for sure. For sure. The wife and I also ordered Jordan 1 lows that we're both going to customize together with your leopard print on the back neck. Sweet, man. I definitely want to see those as well. Very cool. You can't go wrong with the leopard print pair. John says, I'll miss the May experience. Will you host another one later on in the year? Yeah, that is definitely the plan. I don't have locked in dates as of now. But we're shooting for certainly one more this year. Certainly one more. Maybe even two if we can get there. Levikus says, do you think that displaying a pair of customs in a hotel restaurant that is a little expensive and there is a lot of traffic would help this business? Obviously, if you succeed in such a partnership. I think anywhere that you could get people willing to display your custom shoes is a solid idea. It could be, you could view that as that's a talking point to where people see that and they're going to be like, why is there a pair of shoes over there? And those caught my eye. And now I need to know a little bit more about them. All of a sudden they may ask their server, hey, what are those shoes? What's the story behind those? And then they, server gives a little pitch on what they are. Oh, who knows? You could check out this artist here. Or if you go and lift up the bottom of them and you scan the QR code, their Instagram pops up. You know what I mean? Like, think through those things. What would you want? Because you're not going to get every server to carry around business cards for you. So how are you going to get people to reach out to you after? You know what I mean? But I'm all about weird ways to display your work, advertise your work, anything that's lets people see your work in person and isn't just on a little 4-inch screen. Is a big win in my opinion. For sure. All right, guys, we will go a few more minutes here, We'll go about 5 more minutes or so. Thank you for hanging out with us on this beautiful Friday. I'm excited next week for 2 movies. 2 movies are coming out. I'm excited for the movie Air, directed by Ben Affleck. I don't know how to say this, and probably not an opinion, but I really, really enjoy Ben Affleck as a director. So I'm excited to see this. The Town is one of my, it's probably in my top 10 favorite movies. Bank heist movies are one of my favorite subgenres, and The Town is for sure in like the top 3 there. Argo, which he won Best Picture for, is great. Gone Baby Gone, great. I haven't seen Live by Night. That's only one of his movies that he's directed that I haven't seen, but I'm really excited to see Air. And what a great cast. Viola Davis, Matt Damon, Chris Tucker. And then also I'm excited to take my son to see the Super Mario Brothers movie next week. Every time the commercial comes on TV, he loses his mind and starts jumping, shouting, screaming. He is so excited to see that movie. He's 4 now, and this is the first time where like there's a buildup, there's excitement, and I'm counting down the days with him, and he's really excited to see that with his have his popcorn, his I don't think he's gonna do a Slurpee. I got him a 7-Eleven Slurpee one time. Surprisingly, he doesn't enjoy that much. So Slurpees and slushies haven't caught on with him yet. Maybe you don't enjoy those as a 4-year-old, but yeah, he says, Dad, I want popcorn, I want candy. So excited about that. Excited about that one. Let's see if I missed anything else. Blue had said this topic sounds like a future DeJesus YouTube video just on this topic alone for sure. For sure. Scroll to the chat. I know Aaron Jones has a restaurant, and I've thought of doing that here to get my work a bit out more where I live. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Anything to let people see your work in person, especially if you're, most of us are used to really only getting clients on through social media. So I think I'm gonna try to I need to practice what I preach as well, but I want to try to make sneaker customizers going to conventions like a very, very practical in demand thing. I want to make a big push for that more people do that every convention you go to, there's multiple customizers, multiple artists showcasing their work. I mean, it's like a staple in the tattooing world, and I want that to be something much, much bigger for sneaker customizers to do, for sure. What do you think of reaching out to sports agents about making shoes for their clients? Absolutely. Phenomenal idea. Phenomenal idea. You can find a lot of sports agents on LinkedIn and things like that. You got to get creative. If your goal is to work with athletes and stuff like that, you got to get creative how you're going to get a hold of them. And athletes are a great way. And what's really, really, really nice about agents is they probably have multiple clients. So if for whatever happens, maybe you do a pair for them for one of their guys, chances are they're going to want to spread your name and give your work to some of their other clients as well. So that's a really good idea. I know that's something that has worked well for us in My Cause, My Cleats, because I'm so curious to know what this looks like, but there is some type of like approved list that the NFL makes. That has contact info for approved customizers that agents or players can reach out to. So I've gotten a bunch of calls over the year from agents saying, hey, my name is Tom. I found your number on the NFL's approved list, and I was wondering if you had any availability for My Cause, My Cleats. And I've made a lot of great relationships like that. I would love to know how many people are on this list. I would love to know who is making this list. And I'm just very curious about it. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of those agents who, maybe I did a pair for them one time and it worked out well, that then all of a sudden next year, when I did one shoe previously, okay, cool, now let's have you do 5 pairs next year, whatever the case is. You know what I mean? You just gotta nurture the relationships that you're able to make and whatnot. So kind of like the Eminem song, however it goes, when you got one moment, one opportunity, you got to capture it. Don't let it slip. So when that happens, when you have an opportunity, you got to make it count. You know what I mean? When you have a chance to do something for an agent, an athlete, a celebrity, whatever, you got to make it memorable. You got to make them want to do it again. You know what I mean? You can't just let stuff be one and done. You need to this is something that nobody talks about in custom shoes. I'm sure there's a good business term for this for anybody who went to business college in the chat. Business school, would be able to help, but getting customers to reorder is huge in any business. You know what I mean? But that's something that nobody talks about in the custom shoe world. But how do you get customers to reorder from you in the future. That's something we all need to think about more and consider. And yeah, so think about that. And, a lot of times that comes down to, some of the stuff that we've preached in the past about having, good packaging and things like that that can really blow them away, wow them, make them want to reorder, to have that experience again of being so excited to open the shoes. So yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Hopefully everybody has a great, safe, happy, healthy weekend. Hopefully you guys are able to create some cool stuff over the weekend, and we will see you next Wednesday for recreating your designs. Make sure you check out that video. And again, I'll just end with what we started with. We have the 4th DCF Experience coming up May 19th through the 21st here in Chicago. This is going to be our 4th one. We still have 3 spots available. Everything included: paints, airbrushes, shoes, customizing accessories, apron, shirt, 3 days worth of working in a room of other creators. It's just an absolutely amazing experience. Everyone hopefully gets better. Really looking forward to this one. This one really filled up quickly. But like I said, we have 3 spots left. So if you're interested in coming, you could check out more info in the description. There's a link that you could check out on our site, DeJesusinc.com. Again, there's a little course overview that you can open on Dropbox, a little PDF that just has travel info. If you're coming from out of town, you want to look into nearby lodging, you want to look into flights and things like that. There's a lot to consider for something like this. So this hopefully can just help ease that process, give you some more info on what to expect and whatnot. So check that out if you're interested. But otherwise, guys, I'll see you in that next video. Take care, guys.